There's so many different circumstances that could cause us to become oversharers, especially things like maybe you didn't feel heard as a child. Maybe you want to make sure your voice is heard, so you say everything and you want people to pay attention, and so you try to dig up any possible thing that you could say that could get you attention. And this goes along with attention-seeking behavior, and this can definitely be learned from people who you didn't feel heard from, especially in your childhood, but really any time in your life, if there was somebody that repeated confirmation that your voice wasn't heard to you. If you're an oversharer, here's how to stop it and why to stop it. So first I'm going to start off with why you should stop. But first I want you to identify what you tend to overshare the most. Does it tend to be oversharing trauma and trauma dumping? Or is it positive things like your goals and your dreams? Or is it something else? Identify what it is. If you tend to overshare negative things, this can really line up with the victim mentality type thing. And this can really keep you in a lower vibration and make life seem harder for you. And this is also why positive thinking is so important. But when you focus on the negative and you are always telling people all the bad things that have happened to you, whether it's trauma or just you had a bad day and you tell all the people about how you got caught in traffic and you burnt your toast and whatever the bad things were that happened to you that day, it becomes almost like a bragging right. And I'm going to do a video specifically on victim mentality stuff, so I'm not going to go too into depth on it, but at some point we can really start feeding off of the oversharing of negative things, because it's kind of an addictive behavior actually, which we don't really think about it like that, but it really is. It's kind of like gossiping, like how that's kind of like, it seems like pretty addictive because it is, but it's not like an actual physical substance. It's a feeling you're getting in your mind when you get to share this information or hear this information. So that's why you may share negative stuff. And you could also think that maybe it'll make you feel better if you share it and tell somebody else. And there's a difference between venting and just oversharing and trauma dumping and that type of thing. So you want to be very aware on what you're doing and how often you're telling people the negative stuff, because the more you focus on the negative, the more negative you're going to bring into your life. And that's very important to keep in mind. But now on the other end, if you tend to overshare positive things, do you notice that when you tell somebody something and it's not the right person who maybe doesn't really believe in you, like if you're telling them your goals and your dreams or something, and you tell them and you kind of pick the wrong person because now they're like, oh, that's never gonna happen, and then they kind of like crush your dreams. Or maybe you even tell them and you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and then you kind of lose the excitement because it was exciting when you kept it to yourself, and then once you told somebody it was kind of like, oh, like there goes the excitement. So there's like multiple reasons. It doesn't even have to be just because, you know, the person's negative that you're telling. It could be anything. It could affect you in the way you think about it and the excitement you have towards it, because sometimes once you tell somebody something, you're not so excited about it anymore. So there's a lot of different ways that this can show up. So just figure out which one it is for you, or multiple it is for you, why you do it, what areas you tend to overshare in, and the type of people you are telling. In another video, I mentioned something similar to this in energy vampires. Those type of people are usually negative and they intend to feed off your energy. Those people are usually always negative, talking about how horrible life is and feeding off of your energy. That's kind of how you detect if somebody is an energy vampire. But these people are very convincing to get you to tell them stuff. So if you feel like there's certain people that you always tell stuff to and you don't really want to, but it's just so convincing and you just always end up doing it, see if this person could be an energy vampire. Ask yourself, are they fairly negative? Do they just always pry at you for answering questions about your life and leading you to overshare extra? There's so many different circumstances that could cause us to become oversharers, especially things like maybe you didn't feel heard as a child. Maybe you feel like you got to get all your words in now because somebody might not be listening. It's kind of like when you get a stray pet and they are so protective over their food because they have had lack of it before. And so now they feel like they need to eat it all in one bite because they don't want anybody else to take it from them. So it's like the same with your voice. Like you want to make sure your voice is heard, so you say everything and you want people to pay attention, and so you try to dig up any possible thing that you could say that could get you attention. And this goes along with attention-seeking behavior, and this can definitely be learned from people who you didn't feel heard from, especially in your childhood, but really any time in your life, if there was somebody that repeated confirmation that your voice wasn't heard to you. Now that we identified some areas that you could have this problem in, I want to give you some solutions. And this takes determination, so you got to be determined to stop oversharing. Okay, now here are a few examples of things that you could do, things that have helped me to stop oversharing. Now the first one, say you're going to send a text with this oversharing information. What helped me was I would go into the text or wherever I was sending it, I would go and I would just write it all out. And I would go like I was going to send it, and then I would just exit out of the thing or delete it. And it kind of gave me part of the feeling of satisfaction of doing the oversharing, but like not sending it. So you're kind of like psyching yourself out. And I learned to do that because I would start typing things out and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't send that. And then I would like exit it out or delete it. And I learned by doing that, by like thinking twice about if I wanted to send it or not, that actually works. So you could try that one. You can definitely try journaling. You could write it out on a note on your phone. Sometimes I just sit down and I write out everything that's bothering me on a note on my phone, and then I just delete it. Or you could write it down on an actual journal or notebook or whatever. That's up to you, whatever feels best for you. It really helps like get out all of the thoughts that are in your head, and you can kind of problem solve in a way if it's something that's bothering you that you feel like you need advice on. So if you're oversharing because you feel like you need advice, you can try to talk it out with yourself first, because you know a lot more answers than you think you do. And you don't need to ask people for advice on so many things, especially when it comes to something that only you could really answer. Nobody else is going to be able to give you the right answer besides yourself. So you got to learn how to trust yourself too. And that's another reason why you could be oversharing. Next one, if you have access to therapy, if you're able to do therapy, that could really be helpful. Having somebody professional to talk something out over. There's different types of therapy. You could look into that, and that could really help you out if that's something that you feel would work great for you. Next, don't forget that you are allowed to talk to people about it. Like, I'm not telling you to like never go talk to somebody about it again. Just learn when to stop, when to not say something, what people to tell and what people not to. And learn to think a little bit more before you say something. Think, do I really need to say this? Is this something that I feel like could actually help? Or am I just looking for like that quick fix type feeling that you get when you tell somebody something or overshare? And then, because even if it doesn't help, it just like, it's nice to like tell somebody sometimes. And so when you get into the habit of oversharing, it's just like a whole cycle that it's hard to get out of. So start thinking, should I say this? And you can even ask a higher power, the universe, God, whatever you believe in. I ask to kind of have some guidance and like help in the process of stopping oversharing. And then I kind of notice that like I'll get that little reminder in my head, and it's like it like stops you before you say it. That has really helped me because I have learned how to stop myself and be like, wait, I probably shouldn't say that. And they can help too because they can cut off that conversation. I never noticed that before, that my conversations would get cut off when I was about to say something that I would be considered oversharing, until I started asking for like a little bit of help not doing it. And I would notice that I would be saying something and suddenly I would get cut off by somebody else walking in the room, or the person just talking over me, or me getting off track and being like, oh wait, I forgot to say that part. Like, oh wait, no, I shouldn't say that part. So there's like different ways that I've noticed that I was like guided to stop, and that had been really helpful too. And it kind of got me to take a step back and think about it as I was seeing it happen in front of me. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, I shouldn't have said that, and I'm glad that I was stopped, or I'm glad that I stopped to think about it. So think before you speak, which should be like an obvious thing, but when you're an oversharer, you don't really stop and think before you speak. So that was something I definitely had to learn myself. But also, like I said, you don't have to stop talking to people altogether about like things that are bothering you or things that are exciting for you. If you feel like it's right genuinely, like without that feeling of, oh, I just want to tell somebody because like I want to like overshare right now, you'll learn the difference between how it feels to overshare and how it feels like when you should tell somebody something. So no, don't go isolating yourself. You can vent about things, you can complain about things, just make sure you're not going too far into it. Anyway, you can of course still talk to people about things, just learn at what point is too much for oversharing, and also do those practices that could help you get out of the cycle of it. And once you start to unlearn it a little bit, you're going to be able to discern easier, should I say this, should I not? Because once you're able to keep things to yourself, like it actually does feel better. Like I know it's like hard at first because you really want to tell these people all these things, but I noticed a lot of the time when I was oversharing, I wasn't oversharing to the right people either, because they would be looking at me like I was crazy, or, you know, raining on my parade of dreams and goals, and or encouraging a negative centered conversation. And then that was like boosting my anxiety levels and stress levels. I'm like, why am I doing this? And so when I started learning to stop doing it, that really helped. So I hope this could be helpful. If you have any ways that you learn to stop oversharing, please put them below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I would also love to hear from if you try these out, if any of them worked for you. And also if you have any other video requests, I would really appreciate if you would comment them below in the comments. I love making videos for you guys that you request. And if you're interested in more stuff like this, self-improvement type content, please subscribe to my page. I would really love to have you here as part of my community. Sorry for the reflection of my glasses if they were reflecting for a lot of the time. Anyway, like this video if you enjoyed, so I know what to make more content on. And that's it for this video. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching.